Hey, thanks for coming back to the Cop Kitchen. I'm Dave Sheppy. So I've been asked a few times if I'm going to make any keto type recipes and sugar-free diabetic type recipes. And the answer to that is yes. As a matter of fact, right now, we're gonna do a keto brownie. So in this recipe, not a whole lot of ingredients. There are several ingredients that you may substitute for something else. I went, with the exception of one ingredient, I went right by the recipe as to what is required for these brownies. So, with that said, I'll tell you what the ingredients are. So you'll need 2 eggs, room temperature, a half a cup of melted butter. This is my substitution. I'm using Ghee. It's clarified butter. Most of the recipes I've seen online call for that or recommend that for enhancing of the flavor, I guess. So we're gonna do that. That's a half a cup of, if you don't have that, it's melted butter. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, half a cup of, I'm using Swerve. That's the sweetener I'm using. Again, you could probably substitute that erythritol or something like that. You can get that granulated or powdered. I do have the powdered version of that, but again, the recipe called for Swerve. You can probably do stevia, monk fruit powder. I've got some of that too. Probably even Splenda. Each one of those has a different level of sweetness. So again, I'm going by what the recipe calls for, and that is a half a cup of Swerve. One thing you don't want to substitute in this particular one is a half a cup of almond flour. Don't use white flour, you defeat the whole purpose of the keto. I'm using a third a cup of cocoa powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. That's all your ingredients. I'll put them right here so you can pause, write it down. All right, let's get ready to do this. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put all the wet ingredients together. That's the melted butter, if that's what you're using. A teaspoon of vanilla, 2 eggs, and the reason I crack them like that, as you probably know, I don't like to have eggshells in it, so that's why I do it that way. Little whisk. Whisk all that together. You don't need a mixer for this. It's going to be all done by hand. You can set your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Preheat that. I'm going to take an 8x8 pan and spray that with some nonstick cooking spray. Get that ready if you want. Then we're going to put our dry ingredients together. The flour, the Swerve, the cocoa, and the baking powder. Give that a little whisk together. And when we put these in the oven, we're going to bake them for about 25 minutes. So I make a little hole there in the middle. Go ahead and pour the wet right in. Smells good. Full disclosure, I've never made these before, so we're all going to experiment together. when they come out. Let's see how moist and yummy they are. That's it. Don't overwork it, just like all batters. Just get it mixed together and then we'll put it in the pan. Okay, it's all mixed. Let's put it in the prepared pan. Just pull that out. Okay, in the oven, 350 degrees, 25 minutes. I'll be back. Okay, so it's out of the oven, 25 minutes. We're gonna let it cool completely, or at least for 10 minutes before we cut into it. And we'll see how they came out. I'll be back. So it's been cooling for about 10 or 15 minutes or so. It's still a little warm, but let's cut into it. Let's see what we got. Ooh. How moist that looks. Take a little bite. See how the sweetness is and the chocolateness is. Another word, don't know. Oh, sweet mother of pearl. For a keto brownie, it don't taste keto. I don't know what that means. Not too sweet at all. It's not undersweet, which I thought it might be, because it's not sugar in it. Very moist. Sorry, I don't think I'm going to eat it all. So there they are, my first keto recipe. I'll have some sugar-free recipes coming up, probably artificial sweeteners in them. But this one, I'm quite impressed with these brownies. Might have another one. So give them a try if you're doing a keto diet or low carb. They came out great. So please subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bells, and you'll know when my next video is coming out. Whether or not it's going to be another keto, maybe. I've got a request for protein recipes, some desserts and snacks with protein powder. I think I'll do one of those too. There's a peanut butter cookie with chocolate coating on it that looks like a pretty good one. So until then, be safe out there. I'm 10-7.